comes Suggs, long three for the win. Banks it home! Banks it home! Jalen Suggs to send Gonzaga one step closer to history. And they're one win away from an undefeated national championship.
Jalen Suggs is the truth. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to First Take on a Monday. Hope you all had a fabulous weekend. Coach Seth Greenberg here with us. You know it's going to be a good day. Stephen A., Max Kellerman. I'm Molly Karen Rose. Fellas, let's get right into it. Gonzaga staying perfect thanks to that buzzer beater taking down UCLA. They are one step away, one game away, Baylor tonight, to becoming national champions in a perfect season. Stephen A., first thought when you saw that Suggs shot?
Wow. I mean, first of all, major props to both UCLA and Gonzaga. That was one of the great games in college basketball history we've seen. Nip and tuck all the way throughout from start to finish. It was something spectacular to behold. But when I thought about Jalen Suggs hitting that game winner, I loved it. I thought about Jenkins hitting the shot to win the national title for Villanova. I thought about Christian Laettner hitting his shot over, against Kentucky to go to the Final Four. I thought about all of those things as well. Because, I mean, listen, it's one shining moment, right? It's March Madness. It's what everything's about. We could get into Timmy taking over in overtime the way that he was, balling the way that he did. We can look at UCLA and Juzang, who's the real deal. He was sensational as well. We can look at a lot of different things. But that shot really epitomized what March Madness was all about. And the first thought that really came to my mind to answer the question is, this is why you love March Madness so much. This is what you don't get watching college football. It's what you don't get watching tennis. It's what you don't get even watching NBA basketball. You might get moments, but I'm talking about with so much on the line, one and done, that kind of stuff. You just don't see it. This is what you live for when you talk about March Madness, and it just lived up to its billing as far as I'm concerned.
All I could think about after that game was that is one of the greatest college games I've ever seen, and one of the most dramatic and greatest endings I've ever seen, and one of the greatest kind of closeout performances at the end of regulation by a player I've ever seen in Suggs. And I have to confess that my next thought was, man, I don't want to take anything away. Man, if only this were in the finals instead of only, right, a Final Four game, and if only they were down a point or two and that shot was to win it, I could come out today and say definitively, that's the greatest game of all time. That's the greatest ending of all time. I can't because it wasn't. Because, even just recently, Villanova and North Carolina, right? Similar circumstances, but for the championship. When I was a kid, like Duke and UNLV, right? So this places among all of them. Even though it was a Final Four and not a championship game, Suggs' performance, I will never forget. The block, the pass, the shot. He did it all to get them to overtime, and it takes its place among the all-time greats. You tweak two things. If they were down when he hit that shot, and if this were in the finals, it would have been the greatest of all time.
Yeah, Max, I agree with you. Look, what I thought when that ball went in, this dude is just different. He is just different. Everyone says he's got it. This dude has it. You can't define it, but he's got it. And Max, you are 100% right. Like, to me, the shot was ridiculous. People don't even talk about the inbounds pass because Gonzaga was so well coached. They didn't look for a timeout. They had a timeout. What happened? Timmy took it out. Boom, got it to Suggs. All right, he pushes it up the floor. UCLA doesn't turn him. He knocks it in. But the block and the pass, to me, was even more incredible. Think about the block. I mean, boom, get a piece of it.
And this
pass. Head up, eyes up, Magic Johnson, Timmy running the floor. Are you kidding me? How many guys can make that play? Gets a hand on the basketball, composed, settles himself, eyes up so he can see the floor and makes the play. To me, the dude is just different. You're right. We saw an all-time great game. It wasn't a championship game, but it was an all-time great game. The shot, is it Jordan-esque? Is it Chris Jenkins? I don't know. I just know that dude's going to make that play because he is just different. That's why I say you can put him in an NBA game right now, and he can lead a team. That guy's the overall number one pick in the NBA draft. He has it.
It was more Jenkins than Jordan, in my opinion. But I would tell you this: I love the fact, because that's where I was going next, Coach. Once you finish, I love the fact that you brought it, because I thought, I'm just looking at this kid. When you talk about the it factor, you're talking about a freshman, okay? Mr. Football, Mr. Basketball in Minnesota, and what have you. This dude comes out there, that block, and then to block the shot, grab the ball, and head up, throw that bounce pass to Timmy on the move between 3 UCLA defenders. That's the kind of stuff where if you're an NBA scout and you're looking for something special and you see it, you witness it, it's like, okay, he is that dude right there. Because that's just not a play somebody that's not special can't make. You see a lot of special things that happen in college basketball, but you know it's an isolated situation where, okay, a guy usually is not going to make that play. He lucked up, more props to him, more power to him or whatever. But to block the shot, grab the rebound, and then 2 bounces before you throw a bounce pass between 3 UCLA defenders. I thought that play was just so sensational. It basically solidified that he is different, that he is special, and he is coming. It was a sensational game, but that was the play. I believe, Coach, I'm just thinking about it. I could be wrong because I haven't seen every game. I think that might be the play of the NCAA tournament. That play right there. That's
one of the all-time great plays.
It was one of the all-time. I'll tell you the other thing you don't even talk about, his toughness. 2 sport guys. And everyone says, well, he was obviously a terrific football player. That dude gets knocked down, you know what he does? He dusts himself off, pops right back up, says, all right, next play. He got hit in his stomach. He's doubled over. He gets a play on the defensive end. Hey, he did a good job on Johnny Juzang in the second half. Remember, he didn't guard Juzang in the first half.
Right.
And you know what? Juzang was terrific. UCLA's game plan was terrific. They controlled the tempo, yet they were so efficient. But that dude is different. But they got a challenge coming up tonight. That is a little bit different also, because there's a guy named Davion Mitchell. He's a pretty good defender.
Coach, that's where I wanted to go. Like, I think of UNLV. I think of the Running Rebels because they were, when I was in high school, people used to rock Running Rebels hats. I had a Running Rebels hat. I lived in New York. They're a college team from Vegas. Everyone, and then after winning the title, they go undefeated. And they're going to be the defending national champions. They're going to do it again. When Duke knocks them out, it's like, whoa, and you never forget it. The thing about this, I agree, it's not just a shot. As I said, it's the block, the pass, the shot in the final 2 minutes of the game. If Gonzaga wins the national title, gets their title finally, coming from where they did as a program to finally win a title in an undefeated season, especially if for whatever reason the championship game is not as close as this one was, those final 2 minutes out of Suggs will be elevated even more. We will remember it even differently and more fondly than we're thinking about it right now.
I will tell you this. I remember when you thought about UNLV again, you're looking at a UNLV squad that was absolutely special. I mean, we talk about Larry Johnson and Greg Anthony. We forgot about Anderson Hunt. We forgot about Stacey Augmon. George Eccles was their center and stuff like that. You look at that. You look at this Gonzaga team, their movement without the basketball, the cuts to the basket, around the basket. They were making cuts just to get other dudes open. Their basketball IQ is off the charts. They're a special team to watch. But I want to give UCLA some props, Coach, for a second. First of all, Nick Cronin's done a hell of a job. That's number one. Number two, do you know that every member of UCLA starting 5 shot better than 50% from the field Saturday night? Every single member. Every one of them shot 50% or better from the field. Their entire starting 5. They were as efficient as they come. They showed a whole bunch of heart. Juzang is the real deal. I don't know if his stock will ever be higher than it is right now, but Suggs is something special. And Timmy, give him a lot of credit, took over in overtime and was a man amongst boys. He was taking advantage and exploiting every single mismatch that was created for him. He capitalized off of it. I'm watching stuff like this and I'm saying, look, Baylor is no joke. Baylor is coming, and Gonzaga definitely has to finish the job. You don't finish the job, that's a problem. But I got to give UCLA props, and we can't ignore that Baylor can take them. Gonzaga better be ready for tonight.
It was such a well-played game. It was both teams, such a well-played game.
Exceptional.
No question. I just want to repeat what Coach had said, that Suggs is the best player in this year's draft. But first, he's got to finish the job tonight. Stephen A., you just mentioned Drew Timme. Max, who do you think is the more important player tonight? Is it Suggs or Timme for the Zags?
Suggs. It's Suggs. And I understand, like, well, you think Timme has a better matchup, whatever. To me, that's why it's Suggs. Because if Suggs is going up against guards, plural, who have an NBA future, and he gets it done, Gonzaga's going to win. That will ensure Gonzaga wins. And from what I just saw from Suggs, from what we've just been talking about, a combo guard who does everything you want a guy to do that deep in the tournament, who's also that athletic, who's that much of a leader, that guy is who I'm looking at. It's not, listen, I'm not saying he's Michael Jordan, okay? Please, let me be very clear about this. I understand there's only one Michael Jordan. But when he went up against Georgetown, he had future NBA guys, at least one, in the backcourt that he was playing against. And yet it was Jordan who finished the job. And that's, to me, what the challenge is here for Suggs tonight. It could be that you have mismatches elsewhere and you go to it. That's not how I see it. In games like this, guys like Suggs rise. And I believe he will be the difference. He'll win his tough matchups, and that's the reason Gonzaga will win.
Well, first of all, every time you bring up Jordan and North Carolina, let's forget that a dude by the name of Fred Brown gave the ball to James Worthy thinking that was his teammate. Let's not forget that big element in the sequence there. Let's not forget that's a very big play. So, it's beautiful because Jordan ultimately became Jordan on the NBA level, and obviously that was a big-time shot from 17 feet that he drilled from the left wing. We get all of that, but the flip side is that, damn, the ball was given away, too. Let's not forget that. That's number one. Number two, I would tell you it's Drew Timme. And the reason why I say it's Drew Timme is because it's not just his level of production, Max. It's the fact that few creates mismatches. The ball movement, the movement without the ball, the way they move around the rim, cutting in and out of the basket. The reality is that you find yourself in situations where you've got to be very, very particular and very specific about who's defending Timme because he's so efficient. I mean, the brother's got moves around the basket. He draws fouls, he finishes, he's got a nice touch. I mean, he can do a lot of things. And if you're Baylor and you don't have an answer for Timme, look at his numbers from the other night, 11 of 15. 11 of 15 from the field, 11 of 14 from inside. He only attempted 1 3-pointer. He's incredibly, incredibly efficient. You can have guard play. You can get it from Suggs or anybody. Nembhard, let's not forget him as your point guard. Great decision maker, at least Saturday night. I've been very impressed with what I've seen from him. But in the end, it's going to come down, if you can't contain Timme, you got no shot. You got no shot if you can't contain him. If that brother takes you to school in the low post, if you're Baylor, lights out. It's over. It's a wrap. You've got to find a way to neutralize him and make Suggs and Nembhard and those boys. And Ayayi, let's not forget him. You've got to make them beat you, particularly from the perimeter. You can't do that if you can't contain Timme. So I'd say Timme's the key to me.
Stephen A., my man Stephen A., I'm happy you finally have come around to this because a week ago I mentioned Timme and how good he was, and you said, Timme, he's no Kevin McHale, he's no this guy, he's no that guy. Let's go to the old video. And here's the deal. You're right, Stephen A., you finally came over to my side, which most times when you come over to my side is the right side, so I appreciate that. It worked. I convinced you. Timme's ridiculous. They score 50 points a game in the paint. They had 56 against UCLA. Now, here's the deal. The most important matchup in the game, though, is going to be Kispert. And I'll tell you why. Because you talk about those other guys around him, and Timme is. Look, Timmy's just different. The dude is just different. Gets 56, scores in all different types of ways. Oh, by the way, he's averaging 4 assists a game. Kispert, if you can't take Kispert off the floor, and look for Matt Meyer off the bench for Baylor to play a bunch of minutes to make Kispert defend. Because if you can get Kispert in foul trouble, the perimeter players at Gonzaga, the rest of them in the tournament, are shooting about 28% from the three. So if you get Kispert out who's shooting 50%, now all of a sudden the court shrinks a little bit. So that's going to be an interesting matchup to watch. The other thing is you've got to find a way to make Timmy defend. What's the best way to guard Timmy? Make him defend, get him in foul trouble. That's what UCLA did. They played the last 9 minutes with him in foul trouble. The step-up charge he took in that game with 4 fouls, incredible. Big-time play. So you've got to make Timmy defend. You've got to see if you can make Kispert defend. Matt Meyer, by the way, he never saw a shot he didn't like. He will get shots up. You can play him almost at the point as a 4-man. That will be interesting. Kind of like what UCLA did with Jaime Jaquez, which I thought was really smart. But you're right, Stephen A. Timmy's the most important guy for Gonzaga because they score all those points in the paint, because they play through him, and then if you double him, he is a terrific passer, and they're the best cutting team I've seen in probably 30 years. I mean, they cut as well as anyone. But this is a big day for me. Max, this is a big day for me. And I'll tell you why it's a big day. Because Stephen A. and I agree. I feel better about myself today.
Well,
you should.
Well, he should feel better about himself, as a matter of fact. Hey, I'm glad you brought up Kispert, Coach, because going into the tournament, he is the best player on the team kind of thing. And I feel like, especially after that game, what happened at the end of regulation with Suggs and during overtime with Timmy, but Kispert is just as likely as anyone to be the best player on the floor in the championship.
Well, it's you could say that, but I'm not sure about that. Listen, he can play, and I like Kispert a lot. I truly, truly do. But like you said, Suggs is different. He's a different kind of talent. And then when you look at Timmy, because of what you require from Timmy in the low post, the fact that, again, it's one thing when you're just taking your man. It's another thing entirely when mismatches occur and you pick them up. Coach will tell you this. Do you know how many times a mismatch is created and players miss it? They miss it. In other words, a mismatch occurs and, oh, my God, I'm a little bit late. I'm a second or two late picking that up, and defenses are allowed to recover. Not against Gonzaga. You create a mismatch, they pick it up right away, especially Timmy. And if you're Baylor's athleticism, their tenacity and all of that stuff might come into play, but they are prone to making mistakes. And Gonzaga, you can't do that. UCLA played in their perfect game. But Baylor's going to need to do that in order to win this game. You cannot afford to make these mistakes
in the modern game, especially the modern college game. Guard play is going to determine stuff more than anything. And if you have an athletic combo guard who you know can get it done and then gets better under pressure in every facet of the game, the reason it's so interesting to me that it's a block and a pass and a shot from long range is it shows you an overall basketball package and IQ and ability. In every facet of the game you need in those closeout moments, he's got it. If it comes down to it, Suggs will be the difference again.
I'm going to tell you guys to watch one thing in this game. It's going to go both ways. Middle ball screens. Middle ball screens. When Gonzaga runs that middle ball screen, if they can get a switch, obviously that they can get Timmy on the block. But they will go some dribble handoff action to a middle ball screen. Both of these teams, if they can get a switch, all right, Gonzaga get a switch, obviously Timmy's going to destroy him. On the other end, when Baylor runs their middle ball screens, their bigs only score off of that play because it's not a play for them. But if you take the ball out of Mitchell's hands, they rim run and they throw lobs and those guys catch it. How both teams defend when the ball's in the middle of the floor, those middle ball screens. Because I'll tell you what, if you help off the wings, they're spraying it out, Baylor, and Meyer's knocking down threes. Flagler's knocking down threes. Maceo Teague's knocking down threes. You close out hard at them, they're driving them. That middle ball screen, as you watch that game, I want in the back of your head, have little Stephen A on your shoulder, Stephen A. He'll be on your shoulder going, uh-oh, coach said middle ball screen. We got to see how they're going to guard it. Because the team that guards that middle ball screen is going to have a huge advantage. Tell little Stephen A, I helped him with that.
I'll let him
I'll tell little Coach. Hey, Coach, I'm just going to ask you this here now. I'll ask the fellas a little later in the show. So according to Vegas, Caesars, they have the Zags winning by 4.